Ong, founder of Empowering Leap. Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Growth Invitation, where we invite super incredible guests from all around the world to come and speak to us about their growth journey, to empower you guys so that you to get started on your growth journey as well. Today I have the honor of introducing to you Steve Rose, who is the CEO of Fulfillment Foundation. Hello Steve and welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
When I first met Steve, I was like, me and you are very different in many different ways, in the way that we think, in our age, in everything. And so I was like, maybe me and you are not going to get on. But in actual fact that we do, and the reason is because he's been through an incredible growth journey for himself, and the story he has is absolutely amazing. This man has transformed so much that he is completely unrecognizable from who he was before. So Steve, I'm going to hand over to you and let you tell the audience, who did you identify as when you were younger?
Growing up, I was always working on bikes, cars, things like that. Being a mechanic was my core identity. To make things a little more interesting, when I was in my teens, I was diagnosed with severe clinical depression. For me, that involved huge levels of medication, nervous breakdown, new medication, nervous breakdown, rinse and repeat cycle. Despite that, I built businesses and did quite well for myself. But it was always an uphill challenge, even just getting out of bed. In 2009, though, everything came crashing down. I had a major nervous breakdown, lost my business, lost pretty much everything. Luckily, not my wife, she stood by me, and I'm hugely grateful for that. I spent 2 years on suicide watch, new medication and rinse and repeat going forwards. Just as I was starting to come out of that, I got the news that my spine was in a very bad way and there was nothing they could do to fix it. I could never go back to working on the tools and a job that was my identity. I felt like life had taken everything that was dear to me away and left me as a shell.
So basically, you were broke, you were broken,
Yeah.
and you were no one.
Yeah, I was financially broke, I was mentally broken, and I was physically broken.
And added to the fact that you couldn't go back to your old identity meant that for you, you were no one, right?
Yeah, I was lost. I was a ship in the ocean with no sails. I had no clue how to face that, how to deal with it, how to live. It was probably the most hopeless point in my entire life.
So that was 13 years ago, and here you are, sat here with me, having the time of your life.
Oh yeah. My life now is beyond even my wildest dreams. If somebody had told me, even as little as 5 years ago, how my life would be now, I'd quite literally laugh them off the planet. It was inconceivable to me at the time. I'd done a lot of growth to survive depression, but the growth I've done since, making a concerted effort, is monumental, and that's what the person here today is the result of that.
Amazing. I just want to take you back a little bit to the pain.
Yeah.
What did it feel like? What was it? Because not everyone's been through severe depression, but just to give an audience a taste of what that was, how difficult was it?
If you can take the very worst nightmare you can possibly conceive, multiply it by 100 and imagine living in it permanently. That's the kind of place I was at. That's about the best description I can give to give it some weight to anybody that hasn't experienced it.
What gave you that determination to get off the meds? And what gave you that determination to continue to grow? Was it something that, because you mentioned that you were suicidal for 2 years.
Yeah.
So how did you get out of that and why?
At the deepest point of me being suicidal, I took a chance and I opened up to my wife about how I was feeling.
And how did she
And
take it?
It broke her heart. I saw the woman I love crumble into pieces in front of me. I'd always been a survivor and a fighter. That's what had got me as far as I've got. I'm old school in beliefs, really. I believe in honour. I believe you say you're going to do something, you do it whether you like it or not. And I believe in respect. My wife had stood by me through all this time, and there was me opening up, to be honest, and breaking her heart, and that was unacceptable to me.
That was probably even worse than going through that situation of the depression, right? Seeing her break in front of you.
Yeah, that instance was either going to be quite literally the final nail in my coffin, or it was going to be a profound moment that changed the direction of things. I took the opportunity then, initially, to be honest, out of trying to console her. I promised I would not kill myself. That promise saved my life. Because once made, it didn't matter what happened, I wasn't breaking it. And that gave me a foundation to start moving forwards.
And that's a great example of when you are so clear on your values, you know what your next decision is going to be, even when it means, am I going to commit that suicide or not?
If my values weren't as they were, I wouldn't be here. When I take people through depression recovery, the very first fundamental foundational point I say to them is you've got to have a why that is enormous. Your reason has got to be greater than you. Because as human beings, we'll do loads for other people that we love. We won't necessarily do those things for ourselves.
That's so
and
true.
What I'd given myself was this massive motivating why. And if it didn't motivate, it stopped me sliding because that wasn't acceptable.
So I have a question, which I'm guessing would be coming through the audience's head, is in that situation, what if you're not clear on the why? And what if you're not clear on your values? Or what if you don't have that why of having, like, it's not always when you're in that situation and when you're in depression, it's not always so clear, oh, this is going to be my why, you're going to do this for someone else, right?
Yeah, if your why for doing anything isn't rock solid, isn't so unbreakable that it gives you no choice, sooner or later you will talk yourself out of it.
Okay, so now we've established that we need a why and we need to be clear on the values. What happens next in your journey? How come you got to the point where you are now?
I was told that the medication I was on wasn't working anymore. To be honest, I didn't need to be told. I already knew. When you're taking so many pills that if you jump up and down you rattle and you're still feeling worse, it's not a good place to be. And the psychiatrist said to me the only thing they could do was admit me to a psychiatric hospital for electroconvulsive therapy, where they electrocute you directly through the brain. The success rate of that is 20%.
How exciting!
Yeah, quite a good way to wake up after a wild Saturday night, but the success rate is only 20%.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, 40% of people that go through it end up spending the rest of their lives in a psychiatric hospital. To me, that was basically me dying. That was just as unacceptable as me literally dying. So it motivated me to look for another way. There weren't any other medications. So my journey started looking at how can I cope with my depression without medication. What I found was that psychology and knowing how to utilize your psychology was fundamental. But through finding those things, I recreated myself. I changed my brain chemistry that the doctors couldn't. I changed my psychology that psychologists had told me was fine in. I've got to the point where I'm 18 months clear of any medication whatsoever, which they told me was impossible. And I'm helping other people achieve the same things. And these days we lean on pharmaceuticals. Everybody wants a quick fix. I've got news for you. Quick fixes do not work.
As you have clearly experienced taking all of the meds for so many years in your life, having the promise of it's going to make you feel better got you to a point of being suicidal, and it didn't get you out of it. Oh, and the next offer was, let's electrocute your brain.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. So I'm super happy that you actually managed to change your psychology and you defied everything that your doctors told you, even though it may seem that they are the ones who are super qualified. You were the one who was able to change yourself, not anyone else out there who told you, from my experience or from what the books say, this is what happens.
One of the biggest problems out there, the textbooks that everybody studies from, that the experts study, don't get me wrong, I've got a lot of respect for them. They spend a lot of years studying very hard and spending a fortune doing so. But the books they're working from, most of them are 30 years out of date. The up-to-date and most valuable information isn't in any of those books because, unfortunately, the pharmaceutical industry make a bun. They don't want alternatives coming out. And it doesn't matter which health aspect you look at, it's the same story. There's a lot of information that gets dumped out. I spent 10 years learning, trying, and I crash tested everything. I tried it, and if it made me worse, it made me worse. If it made me better, it helped. 2 steps forwards, 1 step back. And then 1 step forwards, 2 steps back. It was a fun decade. That's what's got me to where I am now. And it's akin to the superhero movies. You always see the superhero journey. The reason that is so profound is because most people don't decide that they are going to change, that they are going to grow, regardless of cost, until they hit absolute rock bottom. And absolute rock bottom is always through the bottom of the barrel, it's not the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people don't understand that cost doesn't necessarily just mean monetary value. Cost is in terms of your time, your resources, your commitment, the pains that you need to go through, right?
It's also cost to those you care about.
Yes, absolutely.
For me, if something came up and it was going to cost me 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, whatever, that financial cost, although compared to what I was earning, that was hard to arrange. Trying to raise that and borrow off multiple credit cards and things like that at times. But compare that to the cost that the state I was in was taking on the woman I loved. Sign me up. I didn't worry about the money side of it because if I resolved where I'd been and got me functioning again, well then I'd earn again, and so I could pay it off. Where there's a will, there's a way.
I want to wrap things up by asking you a question. How would you suggest people can go and find their why?
I would say look for, ideally, the person that is most significant to you emotionally. It may not be husband and wife kind of love. It could be a parent, a grandparent, a child, a really close best mate. Find that person that you would do anything for. Make them the promise and ask them to hold you accountable.
For my audience out there, for any of you who are experiencing any signs of depression or you know of someone who is, Steve is the expert in helping people. As you've just heard his story, he's been there, done that, and definitely got the t-shirt, and he sat here smiling today. So feel free to reach out to him. I'm going to be tagging him onto the post. Steve, thank you so much for coming onto the show and sharing your story so vulnerably. It's not an easy task, and thank you for being so honest.
Thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to demonstrate to people what's possible.
Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Bye for now.